So if you're using Asana day to day and you've been hearing a lot about the AI, but you're not sure how to approach it, what it does, then this video is definitely for you. I'm likely going to make a series out of this. And so I'm going to start by showing you what AI Studio is within Asana, how to get started with it, and some of the most common use cases that our team at Cirface is prescribing for our customers. I've got a demo up here. I've just called it our Creative Requests AI Studio demo. The use case here is that we have a design team or a marketing team, branding team, whatever, who's receiving incoming requests. A project manager or account manager, brand manager would receive those requests depending on your use case. Kind of problem that exists right now is as these requests come in, one, we have to organize them all, but we're often missing information. And so that's the use case I'm going to walk you through today and show how AI can support that. So within our project, I'm going to start pretty high level and show you kind of what it does and what the capabilities are of it first. So when we go to customize, we'll be able to go into our rules here. I've already got some rules created, but when we go to add, once your AI Studio is enabled, and if it's not, speak to your administrators because there's a little box you have to check in your admin console to make sure that all AI features are enabled. And then this will be configured. If you are on any kind of legacy plan, like if you're on business legacy or enterprise legacy, you're not going to be seeing this information here. So it's important that you migrate from the legacy option to the current offerings, and we're happy to help with that. But when it comes to what AI can do, similar to our rules, there is the ability to create custom AI Studio rules here, which I love doing, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. But like we have these pre-made rules here that we're used to with basic triggers and actions, we can also do the same thing with AI Studio. So as you can see, common use cases are when a task comes in, we can automatically rename that task. We can translate comments or any kind of work. And so we work with globalization teams who have to create content and translate it into many different languages. And so AI Studio can also assist with that. It can check for missing information, which is the use case we're going to explore here shortly. It can draft responses in the form of blog posts, emails, comments. It can create your content for you. And then, of course, we want to have a human in the loop to make sure that the work is on brand and everything is being checked before it goes out, obviously. So we can also summarize blocking tasks. So see kind of what is blocking work, what's connected to the work, so any dependent tasks. Summarize your completed work and can automatically change due dates. And so think of an assistant or like a project manager assistant that's in here kind of governing your projects and looking for dates as they lag and then making comments or bringing people into the fold when it needs to. Checking for duplicate work as well, right? So our records are always up to date in our different databases. And then summarizing attachments. So with any of these, when you get started, we're going to take a look at the missing information one here quickly, and then I'm going to run that demo here for you. And so if it's your first time using it, it's going to ask you to add this rule to your project. And we're going to go right inside of here and we're going to have to finish setting it up. And so it's prompting you through this. It's going to walk you through it. So if you are intimidated, if you're new to it, don't worry. Asana's thought of how to make this experience as seamless as possible. What we have here, it's very familiar. We have the trigger, condition, and then action that we're used to in our rule builder. So in this case, when a task is added to the project, we can look at all tasks or specific form submissions, right? We want to check first if the task has sufficient information. That's the first thing we really want to do. And so what does sufficient information look like, right? We want to look at the instructions for that. But before we do, when you find that there is either enough information or not enough information, we want you to add a comment to the task. So straight out the gate, this template's going to give you everything you need. All you have to do is click save. you can make some customizations, and then you're off to the races. So in this case, you would populate this with the use AI variable rather than having to fill in a comment by itself. And so this guidance has already been created. So think of this guidance as your prompt, right? If you're using ChatGPT or Claude, this is your prompt to tell the agent essentially what you want it to do. And that's what AI Studio is. It's really an agent that is given a job, an assignment, and its job is just execute that ongoing until you tell it to stop. So in this case, your job is to review incoming tasks and decide if they have enough information. If you don't have enough information, you will add a comment to request the missing information. Tasks with enough information will include the following elements. This information may not be explicitly stated, but should at least be implied by the contents of the task. And so again, we're going to look at this condition, right? So the task does not have sufficient information. So we have to give it guidance as to what that looks like. What does good look like in this case, right? We need to provide context to the agent rather than just a one-dimensional prompt in this case. So in this case, work that is completed and not missing information has a clear description of the work needed, clear being the key word there. How many times have you received the form submission and had to spend time trying to understand what the submitter wanted to say or what they were trying to say, and then you have to go chase them down and book a series of meetings with stakeholders and trying to align calendars, and it just doesn't work. Due date, a relative time frame for completing the request or the description, whether this task depends on any other work. If this task does not have enough information, ask the task creator for additional information required. Ask a maximum of 3 questions to get more information. So again, this is boilerplate straight out the gate. You clicked a button, this is what you got. Now, what's nice about this is you can fully customize this. So AI Studio also has access to the internet. So if for whatever reason you needed to allow it or give it a task to search for something, it had to pull in references from the World Wide Web, you could do that. If you needed AI Studio to reference any kind of brand guidelines or policies and procedures that your team has, you can also attach them here as well for additional context. So think of this as like your custom GPT. You're adding documents to the knowledge, or for me, I love Claude's project. You add your instructions, which is your general prompt within your project, and then you're adding project knowledge to provide context as well. So AI Studio will then look at the documents you provided, and it will take action based off of that. So we can upload a file here, or for the time being, we can connect to our Google Drive as well. As it relates to further customization, like I said, we can add in projects here. We can mention a project to see what I have here, right? So I can say, hey, look in this project for more information. I'm going to get to that in a later video. I've created some really cool databases where we can cross-link projects and AI can reference them. So you'll want to wait for that one to come out, or just click ahead to it if the time has passed. But then when we go to the AI settings here, this is where we can get even more customized. We can look at the different models that we have available. At this point of the recording, it's July 2025. We have access to OpenAI or Anthropic models. And so we have them as small or as cost efficient as GPT-4o Mini. We've got Claude 3.5 Haiku, O3 Mini, O1 was recently released. And then we have Claude Opus 4, which at this point in time is the most robust and advanced model from Anthropic. We've got 4o, Sonnet 3.5, and Claude Sonnet 4. So what I want to say about this, if you're not familiar with models and how to use them and think about them, like Asana's done a great job of giving you a description here. So 4o Mini, it's a low cost, so low credit consumption, fast reasoning, best for cases that require summarizing and classifying information. So in this use case for looking for missing information, this is perfect. Okay, we don't need to have a larger model. Like if we had given it in the guidance, for example, attachments where we were wanting it to look at spreadsheets and do calculations maybe and look at multiple documents and search the web, right? We're giving it a lot of information. So the size of the model you use is dependent on a few things. It's dependent on the input, all the information you give it in the prompt, the guidance itself, right? it's going to consider all that information, and that's going to consume credits. You'd also select a model that is best used based on the output you're expecting. So if you want it to, again, dig in, do calculations and cross-reference many documents and summarize them and, put together tables for you, that it's going to need a bit more support. So you might want to go with a more robust model like Opus 4 or Sonnet 4 if you're doing any kind of large scale creative type work. And so bigger models are higher cost, right? It writes and reasons well. I personally love Claude Sonnet 4 for any time I'm doing creative writing. Best for most use cases, including complex tasks requiring detailed analysis, use for images, right? So if you're looking at any kind of images or documents, PDFs, things like that. So be mindful of that, because as your team gets used to this, you're going to realize you're running up against your limits pretty quickly. And I'll do a whole other video on credit consumption and what it looks like on the different plans. But we're going to keep it on the small side for the time being. I think that's all we need. When it comes to data that you want the task to use, you can have it reference task data and comments only, but you can also link it to other tasks like I just showed you, or projects, and then activity within those tasks and projects. And when it comes to like what you want AI to do, right? So data to use from projects at mentioned in instructions. What do you want AI to glean from this, right? Do you want it to reference the project name, right? Where it's going to be limited to, the information it's going to provide to you? Do you want it to look at recent tasks where you can look at, up to 200 tasks at a time? Do we want similar tasks? I just usually leave it on let AI decide, because as long as you give it the context, it's going to know what to do with that information. And you can always make changes later on. As you can see, we can select on or off to include attachments or not in its searching. And then we can decide on who will be added as collaborators. So when Asana is deciding who to assign a task or who to add to a task, who do we want those people to be? Like anyone, right? Members and guests, anyone mentioned specifically or explicitly in the instructions, right? Or a mix of both. And so you have some options here for when you're getting started. Okay, so I'm going to close out of this one. I'm actually going to pause this rule because I've got another one set that's going to work for our use case today. So without further ado, we're going to get to actually what this looks like in the wild. So I'm going to go in and pull up my form here. Thanks for your patience, but let's go in and let's view our form. So let's keep our use case in mind. In this case, I'm going to have a video campaign. The task is going to come into our triage project here, and it's going to go into our video section. So summary of the request, I'm going to be vague on purpose as well, because you're watching this and you probably relate. You never get the information, even when you ask for it explicitly and you say in the definition, please give us the information in this format. People are lazy. They don't follow instructions. They don't like to read. And so summary request, we need a new video for a campaign we're launching. Let's say, yeah, we'll leave it there. So we're launching a new product next year, and we need a video for a campaign that will go out globally. Okay. I don't have any assets here. We could have attachments, but that's not the goal of this agent. And that's another thing. You'll be tempted to want to like stack the AI and tell it to do a million things. Don't do that. I can't stress that enough. It works well when your instructions are concise. You give it one job only. There's no limit to how many rules you can stack, but don't give it all the instructions. So if you want it to look at attachments and summarize, you give it another job, create another rule for that. So anything else we need to know? I need this quickly, right? Let's submit that. I know some of you triage people are cringing right now. You can't believe this is happening. So here's the task that just came in just now. So it's going to do a few things. Right now, if you take a look here, its first job is to rename this task. And so that's what the AI has been given, and I'll show you the behind the scenes later. But that was basically out of the box rule that says rename the task when a submission comes in, so that it's aligned with the format we needed it. And maybe you gave it a document to say this is what we need the titles to look like, so that our folks can do so and so. If you needed it to have a project number that matches some kind of convention that you've created, you can give it that in the instructions, and you could say the project number should be the year and add in this number, and you can create whatever. So that's what we're looking at here. But in this case, the instructions are pretty simple. It says create a new video campaign. So that's the first thing it's doing. And here we have it. Let's take a look at the reasoning, right? It'll typically tell you why it thinks, create new video campaign is the best name for it. Okay, so that's its first job. The second job, like I mentioned earlier, is that it's looking for missing information. So let's take a look at the reasoning here for a second. So it says the task lacks sufficient information for comprehensive video production request. While the task mentions a new product video for a global campaign, it's missing critical data. And so specific objectives doesn't have those, target audience, desired video style, right? Like it's thought about all this because that's its job, and we've given it that guidance. So that's its second job, and I'm going to give it a quick refresh here. All right, so here we have it. The first instruction was to put a comment in. So let's take a look and see what it said. It's going to basically say the same thing that the reasoning shared. So, hi Marquis, I noticed that while we're excited about creating a video for the new product launch, we need a bit more information. So again, this is like AI Studio. You're like, triage specialist in the mix here. Could you clarify a few things, specific goals of the campaign? These details would help our team create a video campaign, blah, blah, blah. And then it actually did search the internet for marketing campaign launch best practices in 2025. So let's actually see what that looks like. Who's this from? Improvato, great, from July 1st. Probably written by AI, but hey, right? If I wasn't sure what kind of format it needed to be in and we didn't have any best practices, Asana's just pulled up a relevant, timely article for me to reference, right? And so pretty cool. So there we go. But it doesn't just leave a comment for us, because that's not helpful, because then I have to go create a task for myself. So the second job that I gave this was to create a subtask here. So here we have clarify video campaign requirements. When we go in here, now it said to ensure we create an effective global video campaign, what are the primary objectives? Is it brand awareness, product education? And then there we go. Who's the target audience for the global campaign? What are the key features, benefits? Are there specific cultural considerations? What is the desired length and format of the video? And so lots of information here. And yes, you could have just put this in your form, but the goal is to really simplify and streamline this work, right? And so this would either inform the project manager or the marketing team on how to improve their form and the questions they're asking, but it could also be used to educate the folks on your team as well. So it's given me that reminder and gone in. So now let's go and take a look at what this actually looked like behind the scenes. So here we have the rule, check for missing information. And we're going to go and look into that. So similar to what we saw earlier, but in this case, I added one more in. Rather than just having the comment to fill in at AI, I asked it to create a subtask. And then when it comes to, what the task should be named, I said, let AI figure it out, use AI. And if you're not sure how to do that, you click on the plus here, you go use AI, or you can add any other amount of variables you want. When I went into the task itself, or the subtask, I went down to the description and said as well, use AI. So that's how we got all that information into the comment itself. All right. And in this case, I just enhanced the instructions a little bit, right? I started with the baseline and I came in and said, this is how I want you to write a comment for missing information. When the task does not have enough information, use the task creator for additional info. How do I want you to write that subtask? When a task does not have enough information, assign a subtask to the creator for additional information required and make the task ready for assignment. Ask a maximum of 5 questions to get more information. So we've given it that guidance. And again, this one does have access to the internet. And so that's what it looks like behind the scenes. This works well, again, when you give it one specific job to do, which is why you'll see here, we have another agent whose job it is specifically to rename tasks. I didn't try and stack them and try and do everything all at once, right? We can draft responses. So if I went here and right clicked, I have a manual rule trigger where I can draft a response in a subtask. And so it's going to run said rule, and it's going to give us a subtask here in a moment where it's drafting an email for us based on the content that was submitted. So if this is someone who's not inside of Asana and you want to communicate with them, AI can get you started there. So here's my AI draft. So dear Marquis, thanks for your request, right? If they're not in Asana, I can just send them this email now, right? Best regards, right? So lots of different use cases here. Again, works best when you play with it, you give it one specific job and think about how you can apply this, to do one quick thing. AI is not here to take our jobs. Again, July 2025, next year could look very different. I don't know. But for right now, we look at this as an assistant, as a way to enhance and improve our working day. We believe in eliminating burnout here at Cirface. And this is one of the ways that I think we can really do that. This is a tool we can use to fill in gaps, to look for tasks that typically would fall through the cracks, to be that kind of overseeing project authority. I'm not going to say project manager, but really just that person in the back end all the time who just knows everything about your outcomes and is on your team really to help you reach those goals. And so check it out for yourself. Hope you liked this video. Please do me a favor and share this with a colleague, right? With adoption being so low and people being skeptical about AI, this is only going to help to educate people as we become more used to seeing these kind of tools and applications in our work. So share this around, ask questions. If you want to see a demo as well on your specific use case, feel free to click the link in my description. And a member of our team will reach out to you, walk you through AI Studio. We'll take a look at your use cases and help you and your team get the best out of your Asana. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.